There are moments in life when something inside you cracks. Not from pain alone, but from a strange, divine ache that calls you beyond reason. I remember sitting quietly one night, a cup of tea in hand, the world asleep, and a melody of longing rising within me, as if I had known someone for lifetimes but couldn't remember their name. That night, I stumbled upon Osho's words on Meera, and something in me shifted forever. It wasn't an explanation I found, it was a recognition. A mirror was held up, not to my face but to the soul behind it. Osho doesn't talk about Meera as a poet, a princess, or a saint. He sees her as a flame, wild, untamed, and inextinguishable. To him, Meera is not someone to understand. She is someone to feel, to surrender to, like you would to a storm of love. And if you truly allow it, she becomes a doorway through which you glimpse what it means to dissolve in love so completely that the lines between you and the beloved vanish. Osho insists that you cannot reach Meera through logic. You cannot approach her as you would a philosophical text or a saintly doctrine. She is not a theory. She is the trembling of a heart touched by eternity. Meera is not following a script of devotion. She is devotion. Her tears are not metaphors. Her songs are not crafted. They rise from her as naturally as fragrance from a flower. Osho calls her a shining star, so bright that even other mystics seem to fade beside her. But his point is not to compare. It's to say that Meera embodies something rare, the absolute purity of love, untouched by calculation. To even taste a drop of her madness is to begin the transformation of your inner world. She is not to be studied. She is to be danced with, to be cried with. You must come to her with trust, not curiosity, with openness, not questions. Meera's love, Osho says, is ancient. It's not a spark that ignited suddenly. It is a memory, carried over from another time, perhaps another life. Meera herself declared, "I was Lalita. I danced with Krishna in Vrindavan." For scholars, such claims are problematic. But for Osho, truth is not always factual. If Meera says it, and if her whole being resonates with that love, who are we to dissect it? Her memory of Krishna was not an idea. It was a lived experience, as vivid as the sun on your skin. That love was rekindled in her early childhood when a sadhu visited her home, unknowingly carrying the key to her heart, a small idol of Krishna. The moment her eyes met the statue, the floodgates of memory opened. She remembered, not in her head, but in her soul. She begged for the idol, cried for it, and starved in its absence. A divine ache had been triggered, a longing so intense that even the universe had to respond. That night, the sadhu had a dream. Krishna himself instructed him to return the idol. The one who loves with such purity deserves the form she loves. And so, in the silence of the night, the sadhu returned, broken with awe, placing the statue in Meera's arms and falling at her feet. She was only a child, but this moment became the seed of her lifelong union with the divine. That is how early Vaira, or divine longing, bloomed in her, a love not of desire but of dissolution. And Osho calls this the beginning of Meera's revolution, not of rebellion against the world, but a gentle uprising of the soul against the chains of the ordinary. In her youth, Meera endured loss after loss, her mother, her husband, her father. Biographers see these as tragedies, but Osho sees them as divine interventions. Death, he says, carved out space in her heart for the eternal. The people she might have clung to were taken, so she could cling only to her Krishna. And in her grief, she was not destroyed. She was emptied. She sang, not to express sorrow, but to fill the silence left behind. Her voice became her prayer, her dance her offering. What others saw as madness, Osho saw as enlightenment in motion. Meera did not preach detachment. She became it through love, through loss, through longing. And her love could not be hidden. It spilled from her home into temples, into streets, into the hearts of those who had forgotten how to feel. She danced not to perform, but because the divine had taken over her limbs. She danced because there was no Meera left, only the rhythm of Krishna. But her ecstasy clashed with her world. Born into royalty, into the constraints of nobility and gender, her public devotion was seen as shameful. Her family, her brother-in-law, the king himself, were humiliated by her. They couldn't see the divine in her madness. They saw only a woman dancing in the streets. They sent poison, snakes, humiliation. But Meera drank everything in Krishna's name. And Osho says something beautiful here. With love, even poison turns to nectar. Without it, even nectar can become poison. This is the alchemy of acceptance, the inner transformation that love alone can ignite. Eventually, Meera left her homeland. She walked to Vrindavan, Krishna's land, only to be stopped at the gates of its holiest temple, because she was a woman. The guards forgot their rules as she approached, drunk with devotion, her song like a river breaking all barriers. But the priest did not forget. He asked her, "Don't you know women are not allowed?" Meera's reply cut deeper than any rule. "I thought there was only one man, Krishna. Are you also a man?" In that moment, she revealed the essence of her path. Meera didn't see herself as a woman. She saw herself as love, and Krishna as the eternal beloved. All else was illusion. That single question shattered centuries of theology. And Osho praises this moment not as rebellion, but as truth, the kind of truth that frightens institutions. Her journey didn't end in Vrindavan. She wandered to Dvarika, living in temples, immersed in devotion, even as society rejected her. And yet, the same people who had once turned her away came seeking her, begging her to return. 100 men came with a royal order. Meera, as always, said she would ask Krishna. She entered the temple and never returned. They say she disappeared into the statue itself, becoming one with Krishna. Osho doesn't argue whether this happened. He simply says, it should have. Not because it's a miracle, but because it makes sense in the language of the soul. When someone becomes love itself, how long can form contain them? Osho beautifully contrasts Meera with Buddha. Buddha's path was silence, stillness, the cool flame of awareness. Meera's path was the wildfire. Songs, dances, tears, surrender. Enlightenment for her was not a sitting under a tree. It was becoming the tree, the wind, the music. If Buddha is a marble statue, Osho says, Meera is a fountain, ever flowing. And in that contrast, we see the spectrum of spiritual flowering. There's no one way. There's only truth meeting the soul in the form it most deeply longs for. But perhaps the most powerful insight Osho gives is this: Meera didn't love Krishna to get anything. She didn't seek rewards or miracles. Her love was not transactional. She gave because she was love. She danced because the song was inside her, and it had to come out. And this is where Osho offers a warning. Don't imitate Meera as a way to escape your own unresolved needs. Don't use God as a substitute for a broken heart. First, live. First, love. Only then will you know what it means to love the divine, not out of hunger, but out of fullness. Otherwise, your Krishna will be just a projection, not a presence.